They don't reward you for innovation.
Another thing I'm thinking, because that battle, that sounds like a long-term battle, and we need a short-term or faster solution. And you, in one of your flip charts, you said something about they had all of these rules and they came up with all these new things, and I decided we needed a different kind of structure to handle the new kind of thing. And you created something structurally that could allow for that to flow to so that it could be different. Yeah. And what I'm just wondering if there isn't, with the understandings that you were bringing to this in history and knowledge that you have, if you were in a room with these silo people and their regulations prevent them from doing certain things, and you know that politically it's going to take too long to change the regulations, might there be, with some brainstorming and some thinking, a different kind of structure that allows them to take from what they can regulatorily do and fund it to this other entity so that it could do it. I'm thinking like at a Toomey Center, sometimes we have to be creative. And there are things that you get a grant for this, you get a grant for this, you get a grant for this, and you got your deliverables. But on the other hand, there are ways to create another entity, let's just say, where the money goes, and it's how I want to say it. It's spent for the right thing because the right thing was done, but the money serves two purposes, because now that it's been spent for that, it's still in our house, and it can now be spent on something else. I don't know if that exactly makes sense to you, but it seems there's creative things that could be done.
You see, but it's a combination of things that work there, Ted. One, you could create, I think you could create the organizational structure to do that, okay? But what you can't disassemble are the rules that follow the funds. For example, if you wanted to say, get an agreement on a plan that it's going to use 7, 8, 9 different sources of money, and depending upon whether or not the city council has to be involved in the amendment to the plan that HUD says you've now got to, because what you want to propose to do with that money may be right and eligible, but it's not what you put in your plan that we have approved. So you've got to come back to us to get that approval, that plan approved for this alternative use, which goes back through the council, okay? It's like, for example, with Ed Blakely in the recovery management thing. I mean, it's a wonderful concept to put it in-house in the recovery strategy in one person, but it doesn't give him two things. It doesn't give him authority over all those other operating departments. He's got to negotiate outcomes with them, okay? Nor does it give him access to all of their money. If all of the money that they got flowed through his department, and he decided how that funds got allocated and was willing to take the other, because he now has the planning function as well in the city, then that would drive different behavior. But as long as he doesn't control the budget, the resources, the human capital, he's going to always have to negotiate outcomes, okay? And the little bit of money they're going to give him to do something with will just tinker around the edges, okay? And
that's
so,
what Blakely wanted. I mean, 2 months ago, I remember he made a big fuss about how he wanted the money to go through his office exclusively.
The mayor is the one who's the roadblock to that. The mayor won't give him that
naturally, but that was Blakely's whole thing. I mean, that, he recognized that very fast.
Right.
See, but for the mayor, that for him to do that would mean he's stripping away a lot of power and relationships and authority away that he has, okay? Because see, the fact here, as you and I both know, is that there are a lot of things that get done with money that comes into these agencies that is not according to Hoyle, and they do it. And say, well, we're going to do it, and maybe the auditors will come or will not come along and find it. Most auditors, if you put them in a room with all the records and stuff they have, they would never find it unless somebody pointed the problem out to them. Okay, man, that's the reality. It's not they're not great auditors and accountants, but you know, I can make it so they never would find anything. And come on now, I mean, really. And so a lot of people do a lot of stuff, and it's not according to Hoyle, and they get it done, and they go ahead and get it done. You know, and say, I'll take my whipping because it got done. I can point to the accomplishment. Beat me up for that.
There's a lady in St. Bernard who basically said, I'm going to open these schools, and I'm going to spend this money. And they said, well, you can't do that. That's against the law. Well, sue me later.
Mhm.
And now she gets, you know, on national TV as a hero who.
Wasn't she before Katrina though? Wasn't she doing that before the
Yeah, she
storm?
was pretty much.
I mean, and then after the storm, she became, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
a hero.
Leadership.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
happens. See, if we can create enough of those kind of heroes like that, and the public gets behind, it's kind of hard to, you know what I'm saying? And we don't have enough. We don't have enough people who are bold, imaginative, who can aggregate together power and influence, and then community support that validates what they do. Okay, and there's just not enough of that happening. You know, I mean, we have all these associations represent everybody, and I wonder, what do you all do when you get together your meetings? You know, when I was running a trade association with CDCs, you know, I didn't want to have a meeting to talk about what the problems were. I wanted to have a meeting to talk about, here's some new tools that you can use, and here's how you use them. You know, I want to keep ratcheting up what they knew. You know, and sometimes my board would say to me, "Boy, people are not there." I said, "But they need to be there." You know what I mean? For example, and you heard of the dinner the other night, Richard. See, they're talking about rebuilding New Orleans, and they're talking about rebuilding the physical infrastructure. They're talking about rebuilding the housing. They're talking about some programs for people. You know, and so I asked the question, and two things that people never talk about. And when I hear them talk about this stuff, they never talk about economic empowerment of the people. Okay? They never talk about this, the strategy that we're going to make sure that the people at the end of the day have jobs. The people at the end of the day have the ability to own their own businesses. The people at the end of the day have the shit to own their own homes. You see what I'm saying? They never talk about that. They never talk about that. They talk about all these other things they want to do. So we got to start talking about this wealth creation for all the people. And it should be built in. When I was here for the neighborhoods conference and I spoke the conference, this is what I was talking about, was this wealth creation strategy around community development. And everybody was applauding in the neighborhood because they understood what I was saying. And other people were like, what is he saying? You know, and I even got a call from a newspaper person from here calling me saying, what did you say? You know, and so I was saying, this is what I was saying. But we don't talk about this. And unless we talk about this, we've got to talk about the fact that when they were talking about, Rich and I was at dinner, and they were talking about the redevelopment of C.J. Pete. And so I'm saying, and this is an outside developer, Barron's coming in, so I'm saying, well, what are you all going to do to ensure that when you all leave here, there's some capacity because you all worked with some of the community builders and other people to make sure that the next project they can do. Then the fact that in this city, the 3 major development projects were awarded to outside developers. I don't know how you do that. I mean, I don't understand that, okay? When there's an opportunity for you to, as a public statement, to select local builders and developers and let them partner with the Barons, you see what I'm saying? Don't force them to have to become the secondary players. But yet, that to me, that's unconscionable, okay? I mean, it really was. When you had an opportunity to really do something bold and grand for the local people who've invested their time, and one of the builders, a couple of them who I knew, but so we don't talk about, you see what I'm saying?
They would call that favoritism, local grant.
I don't care what you call it.
Corruption. I mean, I'm just saying, this is
But
what
why
happens.
can't we, I agree with you, why should not we give out these contracts to local people who are living here?
Exactly.
We need your community
The wealth
invested.
Exactly. And see, we don't, see what I'm saying? So even when we have opportunities, we miss it because of other crap, I mean, that was going on here. I mean, what is Barron's bringing to the table that wasn't going to be done by a local builder? Guy who owns the Days Inn or whatever his name is, who I've met. But so we're missing. You see what I'm saying? We're missing the major ingredients of the new rebuilding strategy if we're not talking about these economic empowerment strategies that go to people and go to businesses and other things. You see what I'm saying?